Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Closing arguments have begun today in the Daniel Penny chokehold trial, show trial, kangaroo court being put on by Alvin Bragg, if you will. And I want you guys to take a listen to how Mr. Daniel Penny, who in my opinion is a hero, how he was greeted this morning as he went into court. Guilty, 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 guilty. So anybody who's been paying attention to this case knows that this man is 100% innocent. If you're unfamiliar with this case, I've done 2 videos on it so far. The first video, we went into the testimony from witnesses. Many of these are prosecution witnesses who believe that Daniel Penny was acting as a hero that day. They were prevented from using the words hero and Good Samaritan at trial to describe his behavior, but that's essentially what they said. Prosecution witnesses said that, they've seen disturbances on the subway before. Some of these people have rode New York City public transit for 20 plus years. They've seen outbursts. They've never saw anything like this before. One of them testified that this was different and this person was in fear for their life and believed that Daniel Penny stepping in saved them from potentially what could have been, who knows, maybe could have turned into some kind of massacre. And so I'm very disturbed by this group of people who are out here chanting guilty. I guess they haven't been listening to the trial at all, and you can see the evidence yourself. There's video evidence, not just from the interrogation, but of the event itself. You can actually watch what happens. You can listen to the 911 call, and you hear the people who made the 911 call refer to Daniel Penny as a Good Samaritan, literally on the call. That's the word, of course, that the prosecutors didn't want any witnesses from being able to say, defense or prosecution witnesses. So I find this disturbing, and I wonder, are some of these people getting paid to be out here chanting this, or are these people just here because Daniel Penny is a white Marine veteran, and he represents everything that they are not, and that is why they hate him. Guilty, 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 guilty. And I just want to say I'm so proud of Daniel Penny for standing and holding his head up high as he walks into court, listening to these people taunt him, knowing that he is innocent. Because he is, and I know that it takes a lot of courage to be in a situation like this. These people don't care about the facts of the case, and I just want to remind you guys of who Daniel Penny is and why they can't stand him. This is from his yearbook. This is Daniel Penny as a kid. I thought that this quote was so cute. Everything tastes better when you're hungry. I would say when you're hangry. I 100% agree with this. This is Daniel with his family. He's just a normal guy, regular guy. This is Daniel with his mother. Look at what they've done to this family. For what? Here he is with his lawyer, and again, with his family. They don't like the fact that this is a normal, healthy family. That is offensive to them, and so they have to smear this man. So crime in New York City says closing arguments began today in the trial of Daniel Penny over the May 2023 subway death of Jordan Neely. The proceedings began late so that the defense could fix 2 audio exhibits. Prosecutors alleged that the defense had edited willy-nilly the audio and taken out what they don't like. This is rich, by the way, coming from these prosecutors. I have to laugh at this because that's literally what they do for a living, okay? If you paid attention to the Whitmer case, we streamed the second state trial. If you guys recall, the FBI got caught literally fabricating audio timestamps, trying to make it look like something Eric said on the way back from what the FBI dubbed the daytime recon was actually what he said on the way there. So they changed the timestamp, a 4-hour discrepancy, taking what was said on the way back, splicing it and making it appear, oh, this is what he was saying on the ride up. Look, he knew where he was going in advance. That wasn't true at all. He had no idea where he was going when he got in the car that the FBI themselves were driving. And so it's funny to me that the audacity of these prosecutors, also, if you recall from the Whitmer trials, the hallmark of it was they would take a 5-hour meeting and they would play a 17-second clip. So you have no idea what was said before or after, or they would play like a minute and 10 seconds out of this 5 hours. And it's like, okay, well, let's hear the rest of it. And of course, the defense has the ability to go slightly in front and slightly behind or after the recording, but they don't have the ability to actually play the entire totality of events that occurred. And so I just find it funny, the nerve of them to say this when this is literally what they do. So of course the judge agreed with the prosecutors because, newsflash, most judges are themselves former prosecutors. They always give deference and preferential treatment to the government, who is the most powerful party in this proceeding, that has unlimited resources and is basically running the entire thing. So you give preferential treatment to the powerful? I don't think so. It's totally backwards. It should be the other way around. Deference should be shown to the defense, who's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, you should be giving them the benefit of the doubt, but that's never how this actually works. So anyways, this caused a delay. So jurors probably aren't going to start deliberating on this case until tomorrow. That's Tuesday. The defense attorney, Stephen Razor, I showed you the picture of him with Daniel Penny, has asked jurors in closing arguments to imagine that they were on the train that day, conjuring the scene with sound effects of closing doors. You know how you hear the metro doors, subway doors close, a train pulling out of the station, and police body cam footage of passengers saying that Neely scared the living daylights out of everybody. And I just want to say, good on you, Stephen. This is what a good lawyer does, okay? This right here, that's what you want to do, is to be able to put them, the jurors, in Daniel Penny's shoes that day. What would it be like if you were this young 26-year-old architecture student, Marine veteran, you get on the train, you ride this train every day, you're on the way to the gym, and you see this person come in and threaten people, threatening women and children. What do? A violent and desperate Jordan Neely entered the Uptown F train on May 1st, 2023, filled with rage and not afraid of any consequences, causing passengers to be frozen with fear. And by the way, this quote here, that comes from Jordan Neely's own mouth. That's what he himself said. He was saying he was going to harm people and he didn't care what happened to him. He didn't care what the consequences were. So that's not just how the defense is characterizing what he was saying and how he was behaving, his demeanor. That comes from Mr. Neely himself. Again, this caused passengers to be frozen with fear before Daniel Penny acted to save those people. A defense attorney said Monday during closing arguments at Penny's manslaughter and negligent homicide trial. And remember that Jordan Neely did not pass away from what Daniel Penny did. He did not pass away until later on in police custody due to their failure to provide first responder aid, because they thought they would get some kind of disease from him. So they didn't want to do mouth to mouth. We talked about this in previous videos. If anybody's guilty of negligent homicide, it should actually be the New York police, which I think is partially maybe why they decided to charge Daniel Penny, right? To kind of cover for themselves. Oh no, it's not our fault this happened. Let's blame this guy who, stepped in to save people. In its summation, the defense challenged the prosecutor's assertion that Penny held Neely in a chokehold for way too long and did not let go for almost 6 minutes. Reiser, the defense attorney, said Penny did not intend to unalive Neely, but did not let go because Neely was actively fighting back. He was resisting. He could have squeezed Mr. Neely to unconsciousness. Instead, he laid with him on the dirty subway floor while the smell of uncleanness and feces enveloped him. And I just want you guys to imagine, try to put yourself in Daniel Penny's shoes and what that must have been like as he had already asked people to call law enforcement, and he was simply trying to restrain this man until law enforcement arrived. So if he had ill intent, I don't know what it would have been. And remember also, we went over the 8 minutes that was released of the interrogation, and I was explaining to you how what the detectives were doing was setting the stage for the prosecutors to go after him for the kind of hold that he used. Reiser argued Penny was not applying pressure on Neely's neck in the hold's final 51 seconds, and the whole case represented a rush to judgment. This was not a chokehold death. They failed to prove their case, period. That is absolutely correct. They had him demonstrate the hold, and they were trying to get him to agree that it was a rear naked hold or a sleeper hold. And so they kept throwing this stuff out there, these detectives, during this interrogation. And I was saying to people, this is why you never agree to do a sit down with any kind of law enforcement whatsoever without having a lawyer present. You know, they lied to him, by the way. They brought him in there to do this questioning without telling him that Jordan Neely had passed away. So he just thinks he's being questioned about an altercation that occurred. He has no idea the magnitude of what's actually happening. They do, and they brought in somebody, a cop who was a former Marine and who has done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they had this man try to develop a rapport with Penny to get him to let his guard down and try to admit to their nonsense. And what they ended up saying at trial was that he performed a blood hold, whatever that means, and that he did it improperly. They actually brought in somebody who was in the Marine Corps with him, did this little struggle session, and got this guy to kind of agree that, oh, based on the video, it looks like he did it improperly. And what a coward that man is, by the way, and just, you know, a snake and betrayer. This is your brother who you served with in the Marine Corps, and this is how you do him at a trial like this, knowing what is at stake, that this guy is facing 15 years in prison, and you allow yourself to be you know, used like this as a pawn in a political game, because this is a purely political case. Everybody knows it. Here's what it's really about from Chronicles magazine. Daniel Penny is guilty of being white. That's what happened. That's the problem here. The late, vagrant, prolific criminal and Michael Jackson impersonator Jordan Neely is exactly the type of person the system champions. Of course, Penny, a confident white man and good Samaritan, is the perfect villain, according to the regime. Penny was not a politician when he became a target of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's retribution disguised as justice. But when Penny unknowingly entered the political arena, when he decided to do something noble by guarding terrified subway passengers from Neely, a deranged stranger threatening their lives. Unbeknownst to him, of course, the stranger was Penny's legal and moral superior in the eyes of the law. Prosecutors let the cat out of the bag when, in the trial's opening, they called Daniel Penny the white man and repeatedly painted him as a callous monster who didn't see Neely's humanity. Of course, when Penny confronted Neely, no one in the subway car was thinking of the homeless man's humanity as much as they were thinking of preserving their own lives and that of their children, you know, their small children that they had with them. While New Yorkers are accustomed to erratic vagrants, Neely's behavior was threatening enough to leave passengers in fear for their lives. Quote, "This was the first time in my life where I took a moment because I thought I was going to die in this situation," one of the witnesses told the jury. So that's why they have to destroy him. It is because he dared to stand between somebody who wanted to victimize people and the victims, right? So they don't want anybody out there who is going to stand up to an oppressor, because most of the time the oppressing is done by agents of the state who have a monopoly on force, right? So they need to send a message to anybody who might stand in the way of them when they decide that they're finally going to try to disarm the people of this country or whatever it is that they're planning. You know, they don't want people like this there. And this is also, I might add, why the Whitmer guys were targeted as well, because during the Summer of Love, they were the guys who said, no, actually, we're going to get together and we are going to protect our community. That's what they were training for, was defensive training, but it was smeared and portrayed as the opposite by liars who were the prosecutors, people like Nils Kessler. And so that's it for now. I ask you guys to please keep Daniel Penny uplifted in prayer right now as this goes into jury deliberations tomorrow. And pray for the jurors that they have the strength, the courage, and the fortitude to do the right thing in this case and render a proper verdict, which is not guilty. And that's it for now. I hope you guys have a good day.